I'm Rebecca.
A year has passed since I was unceremoniously fired, and now I stand on the stage at the annual company meeting, being promoted to the chief client officer. As I look out at the audience, I catch a glimpse of Amelia, my former supervisor, sitting in the back row, politely applauding. There's no anger in her eyes anymore, just a resigned acceptance of what has happened. It's a far cry from the day she thought she could get rid of me so easily. Let me take you back to that fateful day. I had just returned from a grueling 3-day negotiation in Phoenix, where I secured a multi-million-dollar contract with the CEO of the largest shipping company in the Southwest, Thompson Shipping. I stepped through the revolving doors of the office, jet-lagged and exhausted, only to find my world crashing down around me. In the marble-floored lobby, there were 3 garbage bags filled with my belongings. My potted cactus peeked out pathetically from the top of one bag, soil spilling onto my framed achievement certificates. My wireless earbuds dangled from another bag as if trying to escape. Amelia, with her perfectly manicured nails tapping on her gold watch, looked at me and said, "You're out. We're downsizing." Behind Amelia stood a group of my colleagues. There was Lucas from accounting, Lily and Max from marketing, and Derek from legal. Lucas looked shocked, Lily seemed awkwardly amused, and Derek actually smirked, as if he was watching a reality show. I stammered, "I don't understand." My voice was so small in the large lobby. The security guard at the front desk pretended to be busy with his computer, but his eyes kept darting up to watch the scene. Amelia continued, "The company is restructuring. Your position is gone. Everything you need is in those bags." Just then, 2 women in sharp business suits walked in and paused when they saw us. Their presence only added to my humiliation. I felt the sweat forming at my hairline. I tried to reason with her, but the Thompson account I just finalized will handle all client transitions. Amelia cut me off, checking her phone. "The separation paperwork will come by email. Your building access is terminated." I reached for my key card out of habit, but it was upstairs on my desk, along with the notes for Monday's presentation. Panicking, I said, "My laptop has all my files, 3 years of work, my contacts." Amelia smiled thinly. "Your personal files have been wiped to a flash drive," she said, nodding towards the smallest bag. "The rest belongs to the company." Lily at least looked uncomfortable, while Max stared at the floor tiles as if they held the secrets of the universe. I whispered, "You can't be serious. I've been here for 3 years. Amelia interrupted again, her voice dropping to a near whisper. "Maybe you should have remembered who's in charge before getting so close to the clients." I realized then that this wasn't about downsizing, it was personal. I'd done nothing wrong except excel at my job. Amelia gave me 15 minutes before calling security and told me not to make the situation more embarrassing. As people came in for work, some slowed down to stare, while others rushed past, pretending not to notice. I bent down to pick up the bags, struggling with their weight. No one offered to help. When I finally stood up, balancing the bags and trying to maintain some dignity, I saw Amelia's expression. It was a look of satisfaction. I shouldered my way through the lobby, past the staring faces, and whispered comments. The weight of the bags strained my flight, stiffened muscles. Halfway to the exit, my planner fell out, pages fluttering open to show color, coded client notes, and meeting schedules for months to come. I left it there on the floor. Outside in the parking garage, I managed to stuff the bags into my trunk. I slid into the driver's seat and gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. Through the windshield, I could see them all still standing in the lobby, watching me. Instead of breaking down, I smiled. It was a calm, knowing smile. I waved at them, put the car in reverse, and drove away. Little did they know this was just the beginning. I drove aimlessly, trying to process what had happened. The Thompson deal had been worth millions. I'd spent months building the relationship, learning about their operations, and understanding their pain points. I knew the names of the CEO's children and remembered his assistant's birthday. I'd custom designed a solution that addressed every concern their board had raised. Amelia had barely participated in the meetings, but her name was on all the proposals. It was an unspoken arrangement. I did the work, and she took the credit. I pulled into a coffee shop parking lot and finally let myself break down. I wasn't crying because I'd lost my job. I was crying because I'd been betrayed. My phone buzzed with messages from concerned colleagues in other departments. I ignored them all and called my mother. "They fired me," I said when she answered. She was silent for a moment, then said, "Come home. I'll make tea." My mother had always been my rock. She was a tough woman who had raised me on her own after my father left. She ran a small flower shop, working long hours to make ends meet. She taught me the value of hard work and the importance of education. "Be so good they can't ignore you," she always said. I spent the first day at my mother's house, recounting the story to her. She listened with a furrowed brow and pursed lips. "Something doesn't add up," she said. "Why now, after you just secured that big client?" That question haunted me as I lay awake that night. The next morning, I forced myself to review the termination paperwork. The legal language was cold and impersonal. It mentioned a reduction in workforce, 2-week severance, and nothing about my achievements. At the bottom was a non-disclosure agreement and a non-compete clause that would prevent me from working with any of the firm's clients for 12 months. I almost signed it automatically, but then a memory from 2 weeks ago came back to me. I had stayed late to prepare presentation materials for the Thompson meeting. The office was nearly empty when I heard voices from Amelia's glass-walled office. The door was slightly open, and I heard Amelia talking to Lucas. "Rebecca is becoming a problem," she said. "The clients are asking for her directly. Thompson specifically requested her for the Phoenix meetings." Lucas asked, "What are you going to do?" Amelia replied, "I've already done it. Sarah starts next month. Her father and I are old friends. She'll take over Rebecca's accounts." Lucas asked about me, and Amelia said, "She's young. She'll bounce back. Technically, we're downsizing her department." They laughed, and the sound cut through me like a knife. I realized then that I wasn't fired because of downsizing. I was fired because I'd become too valuable and the clients preferred me to Amelia. I closed the email without signing anything. Just then my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number with our city's area code. "Is this Rebecca?" a man's voice asked.
"Yes."
"Who's this?" I replied.
"I'm Henry Thompson. We met in Phoenix."
"I've been trying to reach you through your office, but they're giving me the runaround. They said you're no longer with the company." My heart raced. Henry Thompson, the CEO of Thompson Shipping, was calling me personally. I confirmed that I'd been terminated as of yesterday. Henry said, "That's strange timing, especially since I specifically told your boss I wanted you as our point person moving forward." I asked him what Amelia had told him about my departure. His answer chilled me. She'd said I'd accepted another position and left them high and dry after the contract signing. Henry continued, "But that didn't sound like the woman who spent 3 days helping us with our restructuring. So, I decided to call you directly." I told him I was terminated the day before. After a long silence, he said, "This changes things. Would you be available for lunch tomorrow? I have something to discuss with you." As I hung up, I received emails from other clients asking about my departure and a message from a junior colleague I'd mentored, expressing confusion and concern. Instead of job hunting, I opened my laptop and started creating a client contact list. I wrote down every client relationship I'd built over 3 years, including names, preferences, pain points, and project histories. This information was in my head, not in the company database, and no non-compete could take it from me. By evening, I had made a decision. I wouldn't sign the non-compete. I wouldn't fade away quietly. Amelia thought she'd eliminated a threat, but she'd actually created one. That night, I received a text from Lily. "Something's wrong with the Thompson account. Amelia can't find her notes, and the client is asking questions she can't answer. Where are the Thompson files?" I stared at the message. It had only been 24 hours since my dismissal, and things were already falling apart for them. The next morning, I met Henry Thompson at an upscale restaurant downtown. He greeted me with a firm handshake and a concerned look. After we ordered, he said, "I checked into the situation. This wasn't a downsizing." I replied, keeping my voice calm despite the anger inside me.
"I'm aware."
He continued, What happened at the implementation meeting yesterday was illuminating. Your replacement, Sarah, seemed unfamiliar with the basic elements of our agreement. And your former boss struggled to answer questions about the custom logistics module you designed for us, the one that was the deciding factor in our signing with your firm. Henry then slid a business card across the table. I'd like to hire you as an independent consultant to oversee the transition. I'll double whatever your former firm was paying you. My heart raced. This was an unexpected opportunity, but I was concerned about potential conflicts. Henry assured me, we've consulted our legal team. Since you were terminated without cause and we approached you, any non-compete would be difficult to enforce. We're just asking you to ensure we get what we paid for from your former employer. I told him I'd need to think about it. On the drive home, I called my friend Ethan, a lawyer who specialized in employment law. He confirmed that they couldn't enforce the non-compete if I hadn't signed it, and terminating me right after I landed a major client would make any judge suspicious. I also asked him about starting my own consulting business. His advice was practical. By the time I got home, I had a to-do list that included registering a business name, setting up a business bank account, and creating a basic website. 3 days after being fired, I named my consultancy R&R Solutions and created a simple professional website highlighting my experience in client relations and implementation management. That same day, I accepted Henry's offer. The first implementation meeting was at my former office building. I dressed carefully in a navy blue suit I'd never worn to work before, with subtle makeup and my hair styled differently. When I approached the front desk, the security guard did a double take. I explained that I was there for the Thompson implementation meeting as a consultant. He raised his eyebrows, made a call, and then gave me a visitor badge. In the elevator, I took a deep breath to steady my nerves. When the doors opened on the 15th floor, I almost bumped into Derek from legal. Rebecca. He sputtered, coffee sloshing in his cup. What are you doing here? Working, I replied simply and walked towards a conference room. I arrived 5 minutes early. Henry and 2 of his team members were already there, along with Lily and Max. Their expressions ranged from shock to cautious relief. Henry announced, Rebecca will be overseeing the implementation from our side. Lily's eyes widened, and Max stared at his tablet. Precisely at 10 a.m. Amelia strode into the room, followed by Lucas and Sarah. Amelia stopped dead when she saw me, her smile freezing. What is the meaning of this? She asked sharply. Henry explained, Rebecca is representing Thompson Shipping's interests during implementation. Given her in-depth knowledge of the project, we felt it was necessary for quality control. Amelia's face went through a series of expressions before she settled on a tight smile. How resourceful of you, Henry. The meeting was extremely awkward. Sarah clearly had no understanding of the complex logistics module I designed. Amelia kept interrupting, making things more confusing. Lucas kept checking his phone. I remained professional, asking pointed questions and taking notes. After 2 hours, Henry called for a break. Amelia cornered me by the window. Clever move, she hissed. But if you think this will work. I interrupted calmly. This is business. Thompson hired me to protect their investment. I'm just doing my job. She accused me of trying to sabotage her, but I replied, No, Amelia. You did that to yourself when you fired the only person who understood this project. She said, I've built this department from nothing. Do you really think one client can take me down? I said truthfully, I don't want to take you down. I just want Thompson to get what they paid for. As the meeting continued, I noticed Lily watching me with newfound respect, and Max seemed impressed by my composure. By the end of the day, we had a revised implementation schedule that required twice weekly meetings, and I would attend as Thompson's representative. Over the next 2 weeks, my phone kept buzzing with messages from my former colleagues. I answered some and ignored others, always remaining professional. Meanwhile, word spread about my new consulting business. Former clients started reaching out, expressing dissatisfaction with their current service. 3 weeks after my firing, Max showed up at my mother's house with a manila envelope. Inside was an internal memo about the Thompson account, detailing implementation delays and client dissatisfaction. He said, It's a mess, Rebecca. Sarah quit yesterday after Amelia berated her in front of everyone. The client is threatening to cancel, and Amelia is blaming you. I told him I wasn't withholding anything. I was just helping Thompson navigate the system I designed. Max nodded and said, I think what happened to you was wrong. A lot of us do. The next morning, at the office building, I walked into the conference room to find Amelia sitting at the head of the table, a triumphant look in her eye. Beside her was a man in an expensive suit. Henry and his team were already there, looking uncomfortable. Amelia said with false warmth, Rebecca, so glad you could join us. This is Robert from our legal department. He has concerns about your involvement with this client. Robert slid a document across the table. We believe you're in violation of your non-compete agreement. I replied evenly, I never signed a non-compete. Robert countered, it was in your original employment contract, page 17, paragraph 3. He was right. I remembered the clause, a standard boilerplate I'd barely noticed 3 years ago. Henry frowned. This seems unnecessary. Rebecca is providing an essential service for the successful implementation of the system she designed. But Robert insisted that I cease all involvement with Thompson Shipping immediately or face legal action. I glanced at Henry, who gave me a nod of support. Then I looked at Amelia and said, I understand your position. I'd be happy to comply with any valid legal obligations. However, before we proceed, we should address another legal matter. I opened my laptop and showed them an email from Amelia to me, dated last year, authorizing me to develop custom solutions for clients under my own supervision. I scrolled through a series of similar communications to show a pattern of authorization for independent work. Robert reached for the laptop, looking concerned. I'll need to review these more thoroughly. I agreed and said, in the meantime, let's focus on ensuring Thompson's implementation proceeds smoothly. Otherwise, you'll have to explain to them why their project is being delayed. Henry cleared his throat. As the client, we'd prefer to continue with Rebecca's involvement. Otherwise, we'll have to reconsider our relationship with your firm. Amelia's trap had backfired. After a tense silence, Robert gathered his papers and said they'd continue the discussion later. The meeting proceeded as planned. Over the next 2 weeks, the stalemate continued. I attended every Thompson implementation meeting, maintaining my professional distance. Robert watched me closely but never followed through on his threats. 3 weeks after starting my consultancy, I signed my second client, and a week later, a third. Meanwhile, the situation at my former workplace worsened. Max kept me informed through texts. Second implementation, meeting disaster. Client threatening to pull out. Amelia presented your logistics model as her own and couldn't answer basic questions. 6 weeks after my firing, I signed the lease on a small office space downtown. My mother helped me move in. She said, you need plants. Life needs something growing. The next day, she brought 3 potted plants, one of which was a cutting from the cactus that had been in the garbage bag on the day I was fired. One afternoon, as I was setting up my new computer system, my phone rang. It was a woman's voice. Is this Rebecca? I'm Laura Smith, the board chair at your former employer. My stomach tightened. I asked what she wanted, and she said we should meet in person to discuss my departure and my relationship with Thompson Shipping. I immediately called Ethan for legal advice. He agreed to accompany me to the meeting. At the private dining room in the upscale hotel, I found Laura and 3 other board members waiting for us. Laura wasted no time. We've been conducting an internal review of the client relations department. What we found is concerning. One of the board members slid a folder across the table. This contains documentation of credit misappropriation, client relationship interference, and discriminatory termination practices, all centered around your former supervisor, Amelia. I opened the folder and saw emails, meeting minutes, and performance reviews that showed how Amelia had consistently taken credit for my work, kept me from important meetings, and planned my termination weeks before the Thompson deal was finalized. Laura said, we have 2 proposals for you. First, we'd like to offer you your position back with a substantial promotion, a salary increase, and a direct reporting line to the executive team, bypassing Amelia. Second, we'd like to discuss acquiring your consultancy. I was shocked. I needed time to consider. Ethan and I dissected the meeting outside the hotel. He said, "They're desperate. Thomson was just the tip of the iceberg. They're losing clients without you. They want to acquire your business to lock